fact, kind of just like smacking Polt around. But gosh, Polt's such a phenomenal player. He's not going to let that happen. And here we go as we hop into Game 3. The one to decide it all. Remember, folks, one player will be moving on to face the winner of Hart versus Symbol. The other one, unfortunately, going home, but they will walk away with $1,400, as well as already getting into the championship pools for MLG Summer or Spring Championship. Let's introduce our players here in the Northeast position as the Red Terran. It is TSL Polt. And over here in the Northwest as the Blue Protoss, it is SKMC.
I wanted to touch on a point that Axelav actually made earlier, where he said that basically MC's tech was so significantly behind because he went for that 8 gateway push, and Polt just had so many units. We saw that happen where Polt had the better concave at the top of the ramp. MC spent a lot of gas on these sentries he wasn't really able to use, and I think that's really how Polt was able to get that upgrade advantage. He got the 1-1 out first. He built up the medevac count. Like Axelav mentioned as well, if you wait for a lot of medevacs to do an attack, if you don't have all that tech that you need to hold, gateway units alone will not stop the army. So I think MC wanted to do more with that gateway push. He wanted to put a little bit more aggression on. I feel like his transition out of it was okay, but that was a big way for Polt to get ahead in that last game.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have an update. If you're watching over on Gameplay 1, if you are utilizing the great MLG player, you probably were watching that alongside. But if you're focusing just on this one, we've got results here from the Symbol versus Hart game. Symbol did defeat Hart 2-1, which means that Polt is the last Terran standing, while MC remains the last Protoss standing, and this certainly could turn into a Zerg competition. But it really adds some very interesting dynamics, because it could mean ZVZ,
yeah.
which, you know, changes a lot for some of these players. So
yeah, definitely so. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing Symbol making it to a finals, because I feel he deserves that, and he's been an underrated player for so long. People are finally starting to respect him, and you could say the same of Hart. So it's kind of unfortunate that both of those players had to face each other like that.
Hart has got like top 8 at least in every MLG competition that he's been in.
If I'm not mistaken, you're right, man.
Yeah. It's insane.
You're totally right there, and Hart definitely a player that is underrated. Both of these guys a little bit underrated. Polt going for a 1-Rax expand as usual. Very, very normal to see him. He's Korean, and Koreans loving to do this build right now. Hardly ever changing things up. Polt even doing this build every single TVZ he played, which, as we mentioned earlier, has been the only matchup he's played thus far until playing against MC now. MC looking very, very dominant in this series, though, so far. I feel like Polt not feeling as comfortable. Yeah, he won the last game, but MC seemed really confident. Like, in his play style, the way he moved around, I feel like his play style was definitely the one that felt more comfortable. But even so, he wasn't able to take Polt out there in our second game.
We have the Nexus going down for MC. There we go. It sounds like we've got some game sounds now. Thank you. It was a little quiet. It was a little, you know, I wasn't sure if that was, you know, the moment of silence for the last potential Terran and Protoss in the competition, or if, you know, but yeah.
That happens sometimes, and whenever it happens, it takes you a little bit to realize it, and you're like, you don't realize what it is. You're like, something's not right.
It's too quiet, and it feels awkward. No, it's just not the same to hear the, you know, of things exploding or building and etc. So, yeah, Polt, as you mentioned, kind of going with a similar build the whole time, but I think, you know, winning that second game, certainly giving him confidence after game 1 was just, you know, that was probably one of those shaking my head, like I was doing the right thing, but I just got
if
caught
only
off
I had my
guard,
Marines
you know?
back, that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly, and you know, like, oh gosh, a little reminder, I've been playing Zergs, they don't have force fields, you know, got to remember about that.
Right.
But I still go back to that point you made, you know, being so prepared for Zerg opponents and just, you know, not being in that rhythm. You know, I would certainly say he's back. He's playing the way that he needs to play, but having one game to decide it all is always a stressful situation.
Well, MC is going to do a big attack here. It looked like he was going to go with that same 3-gate pressure that we saw him do against Polt in the first game, but now he's gone up to 5 gateways, 4 additional ones going down here. This is not going to be easy for Polt to hold, but it's a good map to face this build on. You have the secondary ramp. The way that the ramp works, the Terran, if he fans his units out correctly, has just such a good concave. The way to reinforce, you do it from a ramp. So it's a tough map to make this build work on, but for that reason, it's a little bit less predictable from MC, and I don't think Polt's going to expect him to do this in the final game, like the deciding game for these 2 tournament lives. I would not expect him to do this type of big push. I mean, you see +1 stim coming out here for Polt. He's teching up to that starport, the factory finishing up here. If he holds this initial wave, he is going to be leagues and leagues ahead, especially because they're at close positions by air. That gives him so much drop potential here. MC could be in trouble if he doesn't do the damage. And in fact,
I think he saw the front and was like, well, wait a second. There's a ton of supply depots here. I'm going to have all this range damage to try to hit the bunker, but, my zealots aren't going to be doing much of anything. And I think this is a wise decision by him to just kind of say, I don't necessarily have to do this. To get an advantage would be great. But I feel like he's already made that crucial decision that, okay, I'm not going to go forward with this.
And the problem for MC now still, though, remains that he did commit so much money to those gateways. Right. And his tech is even still delayed. So now you can see him getting a robotics, a Twilight Council, and a Forge all at the same time as he got his 3rd and 4th gas. He's going to be feeling a little bit uncomfortable here. But again, he didn't lose those expensive sentries. He didn't actually waste any resources. So he still has this army count that's going to allow him to defend against Polt's pushes. But I think Polt's going to go out here with +1, with combat shields, and with 2 medevacs, and try to put some hurt on MC. This is a great map for that.
Yeah, I mean, MC is going to have the one advantage. You mentioned he did not lose any of the sentries, so he's certainly going to have a full cup of energy on each one. And here it is, as +1 begins to finish up, we're going to have him move forward, a probe outside of vision. Just, I guess he is just right inside of vision. He's going to be taken out quickly, but that is sort of the alarm system for the Protoss. MC knows what's going on. Polt has a couple Marauders stimming to try to take out any vision in the center, and that is also a little strange as well. The only vision that MC really had of this of this eventual army marching its way across the map was that one probe. But just killing the probe doesn't necessarily mean it's an attack. It's kind of like one of those, is he coming? Is he coming?
Just, now that he sees his factory, though, he knows it's the floating factory, 2 medevac +1 stim and combat shields timing attack that Marine King has done better than anyone else, especially at these arenas, in fact. And he's trying to decide how he wants to move in here, but MC is prepared for it. He prepared when he saw this army. He saw the factory as well. He fanned out his units even at the top high ground there. He's not even losing anything. And Polt, from here, does he decide to commit? It looks like the answer to that is no, at least not initially. He may try to use the drop ships to draw some of MC's forces back and then go up. But to attack head-on like Marine King does is not going to be something he's going to do here.
Yeah, I mean, Polt did also have a just outstanding observer snipe as well.
He uses the factory to distract the Stalkers. He checks to see that there are no Stalkers over here, and he unloads all 4 medevacs into the main base. An early Doom drop, and MC may, in fact, be doomed here.
Oh, this is not good. The sentry's coming up way behind,
but
and what are they even going to do? He
they can't use anything.
So easy. In fact, force fields from the back. The Zealots are on the low ground. He's going to go after that robotics facility, but now he's going to be forced to fight as a ton.
The force field's working against MC here, and you can't really use sentries this way. The Colossus pops out, and as a result, MC may be able to push this back. Will he target down the Colossus? Looks like the answer to that is no, and in fact this attack will be pulled back, but it was a great trade for Polt. He took out all of the sentries, and I think that's the most important thing to note here.
Yeah, I mean, the sentries, it was a really weird situation because the sentries looked like they wanted to forge ahead and be the ones to lead the Protoss army into battle. Of course, that's always a bad decision, and I do like the fact that Polt really focused his attention on that robotics facility, at least momentarily. He knew whatever was going to pop out of there was not going to be good news, and, luckily for MC, he didn't get it down, because I think that Colossus, just the threat of it alone, was enough to make him go, okay, I need to taper this off and send it back. Of course, MC still handled it quite nicely, but here comes wave number 2.
Yep, this is going to be pretty tough.
With no sentries.
No sentries at all, and the Zealots do have charge. He has Blink on his Stalkers as well, but Polt's army just is going to be so well healed. His micro, as something we've talked about throughout this entire tournament, But even so, MC with the second Colossus makes it so that Polt cannot engage, at least not without Vikings. Even with these first 2 Vikings, I don't think he's going to feel comfortable. But he has the 3rd command center up right now, so he can continue to pressure and never really overcommit here. And eventually his economy is going to start to get further and further ahead. His upgrades are ahead right now, 1-1 against just +1 for MC. Oh, he catches 1 medevac with units, and he gets the second one. Beautiful targeting from MC, and MC turns this game around in a second.
I'm really not even sure why Polt decided to do that, if he was preparing for some sort of a drop, but it looks like the Vikings are going to get eliminated, and MC making a great decision to push out once that second Colossus is there and available. Polt loads up 2 medevacs, 2 of them fall, and he's left with just a few units, a handful if you will. Now MC, I think, making the wise decision to back off as well. There is a single Marine preventing this 1 probe from expanding, but the Zealots will take care of that issue.
I was amazed at his ability to target down the 2 medevacs that had units loaded into them. He just did that right away. Like, he knew which ones.
Was it just the fact that they were the 2 closest men, or did he actually see them? I don't know. But I mean, he did load it up. Let's take a look at the instant replay of that real quick. Well, we've got him taking out those pylons. So there it was, the load up, and you know, from his point of view, he just saw the medevac stop there.
Yeah, he knew exactly which ones, just like from intuition, from based on how they were moving, and he went right for them. You can see him just chasing this down and tearing it apart. A great engagement overall for MC, pulling him right back into this game. At this point, you can see the supplies, though, fairly similar. It pulled him back into the game, but it didn't give him a huge lead. Polt had that 3rd command center for a while. MC, though, with a better worker count, 61 to 50 here. That 3rd mule is going to matter a lot once he gets that command center up, and MC is still in a position now where he could continue to be aggressive. One thing I do want to note, Weed, is that he's stuck with the 2 Colossus, and he's been teching up towards that Templar tech ever since. He's now got Storm almost finished. He's warping in Templar, getting the Warp Prism out to help position those Templar where he wants them.
Well, I mean, I guess the good news about that is that Polt will continue to put out these Vikings, and, you know, for every Viking that he makes that, you know, doesn't need to be there, it is going to be great for MC. However, we have a 3 medevac drop loaded up here going to the far north. There are a few Zealots and a single High Templar back here inside the main to defend that.
There's 3 Zealots running into the 3rd base of Polt. And this is going to do a ton of damage to Polt. Polt not prepared for this at all. Not even pulling his SCVs really correctly. He's more concerned about this drop. But because MC is worried about these Zealots, he does not get the feedbacks off. And all 3 drops will land here. He's going to lose a lot of probes. He's going to lose the units in his main, and likely will lose a lot of pylons. Oh my god.
A storm, but a great pickup by Polt. One of those medevacs about ready to fall. We don't see any stalkers there as well. We've got more Zealots coming in. The damage has been done at that 3rd, but Polt doing a ton of damage inside the main. He's actually taken out more probes. No really infrastructure damage at all. And let's take a look at it. 11 workers killed, you know, at the loss of quite a few bio units.
He killed some of the Templar, which are really expensive units, but it could have been so much worse for MC. I mean, he could have lost a ton more there. So having his Templar there ready, having the Storm, really worked out for him, even though he didn't spot the drop right away. This game continues to be pretty close. Looks like these Zealots will finally be cleaned up. They're actually going to serve 2 purposes here, not only killing a ton of SCVs, though, but also turning these drops around for Polt, which means that MC is going to be very prepared to defend his 3rd base. He's actually not even sending them over right away. All of the SCVs were killed here. This puts MC up 56 to 41 Harvesters right now, and I'm starting to feel we're seeing just a little bit of lack of preparation for this matchup in Polt's playstyle here. I feel like he's just not with it. Like, he's not used to dealing with this much crazy harassment with this many strong units running into his mineral line, tearing his SCVs apart. I mean, I'm not saying that he's playing poorly here, but it just seems like MC is feeling much more prepared with this matchup.
Well, you know, let's take a look at Polt's current situation here. He's got 8 Vikings, and 2 of them are going to get sniped as they move forward. He's got half-dead medevacs and a bunch of bio, but a ton of storms as well. Well, all those bios are going to walk right through that storm, and he could just bait it out all day. It looks like 1 Colossus is going to fall. That's the last one standing, and Polt is going to go ahead and stay alive here.
But the Zealots in the main base have killed every SCV that Polt had there. Puts the worker count 61 to 30.
Wow.
If MC holds this with a few key storms, he will be able to take this game no matter what. He's already got Templar in position. One of them out in the middle of the map drops an excellent storm. A second storm goes down, and it looks like Polt is pretty much out of luck, man.
Yeah, it's cold in his tracks, and look at, I mean, he is clearly, well, now all these zealots are coming in, but clearly he did have an advantage momentarily. A good land on top by Polt without vision. He is able to do a little bit.
But
of,
MC knows.
Oh my gosh, and these zealots.
He knows he doesn't need to use warp ends to defend anymore, so he's just using them all to attack. Kills the very important starport. He's killed all the SCVs. He's stopped mining in the main base, and he's continuing to kill units that pop out of these production facilities. Polt is on a slow path of death here, I think. Unless he makes one key engagement go in his favor, he's got no chance of winning this game.
Yeah, these warp-ins inside the main base have been absolutely devastating, and now we've got a charge lot Archon force that is moving over to this third, where a bunch of mules were just dropped down as well, but he won't even matter. He'll take out these units here in the middle. Another big force moving forward. It's a bunch of marauders. A huge storm goes down, and he could just use those defensively all day long and then head on into this third base. But he is going to go ahead and decide to attack. Another storm thrown down here. Archon's in the back. He softened those units up so much, Wolf, that in fact the storms are just going to get the job done, and the Archons will keep them away while he destroys this third. And MC is clearly taking a large advantage in this game.
Yeah, I would
maybe
even
on
say,
his last leg.
I think he is. I think that MC has done it. He's now more than doubled the supply of Polt, and when you get an advantage in army supply, you can basically just fight against anything with Protoss when you have those storms to back it up. No amount of kiting, no amount of bio can stop you. GG! Polt is out and MC is in. Our only Protoss remains alive here. And this means no more Terrans left in the tournament.
Yeah, that's surprising in itself, not having a Terran, at least in the top 4 here of an MLG arena. Guys over on the analyst desk, what'd you think of that one?
Wow, what an absolutely incredible game. Axelav, take us through that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole series actually showed a similar trend in Polt's play, in that every single game, his drops actually played him false.
Yeah.
We saw in the first game, he fell far behind by losing those 2 drops of guys. The second game, he had an almost for sure victory, and he made it a much closer game by throwing those drops in again. And then his third game, yet again, he went for that drop play, and he got caught doing it, and his Medivacs got picked off. And I think it's like you guys were saying earlier, maybe a lack of preparation in Terran versus Protoss. His drops were playing him, he was doing him so well versus Zergs in the last 2 days. But if you look at some of the top TVP players in the world, you know, like Thorzane is so good versus Protoss, Jakshi is so good versus Protoss, and they rarely use drops just because it's so risky versus Protoss.
It's so risky, man. It was kind of like the hit or miss for Polt. If he hit them well, then things went really well for him. The drop in the main base, I could see why he wanted to commit to that, but with the storms there from MC, it was like, it didn't work out exactly like he planned.
I mean, they wasn't really controlling beyond that. In fact, you have all those Marines back in a corner. Well, that's perfect surface area for one of those storms, so it definitely did play against him, and I think it's a great point. Yeah, so here we go, guys. Symbol versus MC in round 7. They will go on to face the loser of the winner bracket final, which is going to take place around 2 o'clock this afternoon. That, of course, coming up after Symbol versus MC. So yeah, going to be.
We're going to take a quick little break here. Very quick while the next 2 players are setting up.
Yep, so guys, keep it locked here on the MLG Spring Arena. It is Championship Sunday, and we have got MC versus Symbol coming up next. Don't go away.